And just one thing I forgot to mention here, which is quite cool, really just, you can't quite do comparison between timelines very easily on this current version of Histropedia. But what you can do is load a timeline and then find out where something else fits into the context. I'm just going to close these down at the moment because they were the wrong ones. Replace that. Sorry, I'm going to go back to empires. But it's just something that I noticed when on the very first version of Histropedia that I really liked. And I was just on the empires timeline. I just happened to have a look at where the University of Oxford fit into the timeline. And was really surprised to find, it predated even the start of the Ottoman Empire. And basically, you really start to think, okay, way before the British Empire even began. And you start to realize how old some of these things are. And then I was thinking, well, maybe that's not the oldest university. What is the oldest university? So then you sort of go and look for a more broad timeline of universities, which I'll replace completely. And we look for, there's Oxford, but we can see there is one much older. And it's really interesting. And then you open it up and you want to read about it and find out what was all about. So it's a very simple example, but it sort of shows the train of thought we want Histropedia to allow you to go on. Okay, I'm going to explore this compared with something else, and then understand something in context. And the historical context that really excited me originally, the idea of mapping, say, politics against, against war or against finance, seeing how different things that we do affect other things. So yeah, there's actually quite a cool project we did for the Prado Museum, which actually sort of is a good example actually of the future.
For which museum? For the Prado Museum?
For the Prado Museum in Spain.
In Madrid.
Yeah, they're an amazing museum. I mean, it was a real amazing opportunity for us. Sort of getting to work with them. It happened to be that they were working on a big timeline project for their bicentenary, their 200-year anniversary. And we had, just from a random conversation that I'd had with a company they now work with some time ago, we ended up getting approached to sort of try and expand our timeline technology a little bit to allow multi-layered timelines. And it's really cool. I mean, it's actually live now. I can happily demo it.
Can you show us?
Yes, I can. If I can, we've got anything ready to go there. That's the correct one.
That's
but it's really cool, and it kind of so because it's based around the Prado's collection. You can see that these events at the bottom are all the Prado works, basically. So these are all paintings that they have. And we can see that it's being put in a historical context. So, we can say, I mean, of course, because of our horrible history, a lot of historical context does involve war. And a lot of my examples have involved war. But you can see, okay, great, Che Guevara is there. So I might want to zoom in a little bit. And if I click on Che, okay, that's Che's lifespan. And I can actually now just look at the works that were created during his lifespan, if that was something that I wanted to find out about. And better still, if I click on that button up there, you can select which layers you actually want to see. So I'm going to turn off the context. It's amazing, isn't it? And you've got...
It's really great.
This is my favorite kind of example so far of where this technology needs to go. And I'm just going to turn on philosophy and a few others. And I think you have a few options here about, whether it's the people and the works. I might even turn off a couple of those, but that's fine. I'll leave it. And now we have multi-layer timeline. And you can control on that other page where they all go. But this is now really cool, so I can literally zoom in, and I've got Bob Marley over here in the music section, and I can explore that. And in architecture, I've got individual buildings and when the Pentagon was built, and I can zoom in, and now I can really understand what was the world like at the time. And look, that's already really surprising information. At the same time, Otis Redding was born, and finding out all these things that were together. And it actually really was, this is really the dream we originally had for Histropedia, but just not for some set topics, but for any topic against any other topic. because it's in the connections that the real magic happens. That's where you've discovered something that really surprised you.
So first of all, can you send me the link to the multi-layered thingy on the chat so I can show it to the students more vividly?
Will do. So that's that should be the sort of starting time. And I think this is actually, do you know what? If I send a link to my current one, that would be with the layers all on. So I'll send a couple of links. That's a huge link. Sorry, that's going to clog the chat window up. I don't. They didn't actually turn into URLs, did they? But yeah, that should be complete. And also, you do actually have a search box here. So you can search for things, and this is actually a little bit more deeply integrated into their whole collection. In fact, you can sort of get from any work in their digital collection, you can navigate your way back to the timeline and how it fits in. Very, very beautifully as well, if you open up one of these things, you kind of realize that's actually one of the main works, but open up one of these related events, and you can see the work on Wikipedia. You can see the backbone of this is once again from the Wikimedia sort of projects, basically very highly Wikidata driven. Like the company that actually, like just to clarify something, we developed the technology and the multi-layer timelines. A company called NOS that we worked with, have a long-standing relationship with the Prado, and were the ones developing the connection with the data that they already have. And it's incredibly clever, a lot of Wikidata driven stuff, and a lot of kind of sort of an AI layer that they put on the top of it that they use to sort of determine what's related to other things.
That's really cool. It is really
cool.
Really great.
It's pretty cool. It's definitely, I hope, a good example of how how much further all this information goes when it's been added. That's just the beginning of a journey. So anyway, that was just a little side one I wanted to show you, and
And so we can expect it in the coming version of Histropedia.
Yeah, the actual Mark II that we're working on, and it is going to be a little while because we're currently just working on the back end architecture, but there will be a beta version before long, which we're going to publicize when it comes out, and I'll certainly make sure I let you know, Shani, so that it's
awesome.
something you can look at. But yeah, it's going to be baked into the idea of being able to compare any two timelines that are in, or at least two or more. And basically, it's just going to be 100% switched from being Wikipedia articles as the main entities to being Wikidata items as being the main entities. And of course, that then just opens the door to huge amounts more data that we'll have accessible. And the final major difference with it is it's going to just let you then customize a little bit over the top, because you'll often find that you've got all the data that you want, but you need to change it a little bit. I might want to change the name Ada Lovelace and instead say world's first computer scientist. And that's the kind of little thing that we're going to allow you just to customize it and create a story out of it. But that's kind of the main overview of where we're aiming for the next version. Wikidata driven, allowing you to compare multiple things and kind of start to open the door to other bits of data visualization that we can throw in there as well. I'd love to see a few maps and things find their way into to the interface as well. But that's sort of I'm going to hold my horses before I jump too far into that. I think that's kind of a good overview of what. There's loads more that you can already do with the live version, but I must say that the stuff I've demonstrated for our main site it kind of represents the stuff that's quite useful and good to do. And by and large, the kind of timelines you'll find that you will find available are the ones that are quite kind of specific and very easy to define the list of. If you type in novels by Charles Dickens, you will get most of his novels, probably all of them, or albums by Bob Marley, you will get most of them. It sort of falls down when you start looking for what's the timeline of London or what's the timeline of a person, and that's the sort of stuff that you find is a little bit hard with the current version to describe.
Sounds really good. So I guess a few last questions about. Well, you've already mentioned some of the limitations of this version and some of your future plans to expand Histropedia. Anything else that we can expect from the new version?
Yeah, the main thing that's really central to it is, like I was saying, is this Wikidata switch, and what it's going to mean is that effectively, when I go to add Albert Einstein to my timeline, I'm no longer just going to be having one thing I can do. It's going to be, there are a lot of options, and we're going to derive from the Wikidata item of Albert Einstein, probably a collection of 20 or 30 events that relate to the dates that are in qualifiers and things like that. Of the obvious stuff would be where he's educated, when he was married, and all of these other things. And basically, effectively, we're going to sort of increase, the rough estimate is we're going to sort of increase the amount of data by at least tenfold, and it seems like it's more likely to be quite a bit more than that. And so really, the hope is that it's exactly the same in terms of you can search for something and just see it, just many more things available that you can actually find, and really the user experience sorted out. We actually, our technology, our timeline technology, has come on quite a long way past what is in the main site right now, and that actually, I'm going to. I was tempted to show a preview of some of the other stuff that we're working on, but I realised I'd better wait just in case until it's actually a bit more ready to look at. But I would say that one of the most exciting things about the new version is going to be the fact that the queries that you can run, as well as the quick, easy stuff that you have, is all available in the same place. At the moment, I did mention we have this other tool, which I'll sort of open up an example of. And this is like a live query-based version. So the fact it was running the query there tells you that was 100% live. And if we made an edit to Wikidata and refreshed the timeline, we would get some new information. And the color coding was why I'm showing you this, is because it's absolutely critical to be able to sort of have a color coding and layering system for your timeline. So despite the idea of just comparing two timelines or three timelines together, within a single timeline, the color coding and the filtering gives you this whole other layer of power and an ability to see things. So here I've got, like, this is architecture in Venice, was this query that I've written here. So it's 100% query based. That's the query that's generating the timeline. Nothing fancy at all. It's just a bunch of buildings from Venice and getting the inception dates for when it was destroyed. And there's a few little options down here to choose which variables in the query go into different parts of the timeline. Mm-hmm. But once you do that, you get these filters, which are all completely Wikidata based. So as long as your decisions about what to color code by are clever, you can end up with these wonderful sort of, comparisons where I can drill down and focus in on one particular thing I was interested in.
Yeah, that's really brilliant.
And actually, on this, I almost forgot there, we've got different color coding options based on the data that's all in the query settings. So you can say, I want to do it by type, and now I'm looking at the churches only. So that kind of filter and layer over the top that enables you to analyze the data. And not to mention the fact that just even having this color code panel, having good numbers that are updated all the time as you filter down, which this version doesn't really have. Even that is really useful, because you start to see a breakdown of what kind of, roughly what is this timeline mostly made up of, and things like that. So I think that's the other major thing that is going to be baked into the version, which is very different to what you see now. The ability to do, to basically just decide how it's color coded, how it's filtered, and how it's displayed to the user. So yeah, I'm really excited about all the stuff that's going to bring. And I think, to be honest, we're going to, the main process will be that we will deploy a sort of a new version based on Wikidata, and we will kind of quite quickly increment new features after that, without sort of. But I have to say, like the color coding and things like that are going to be in for the launch of version 2 because we've been waiting for them for so long. So yeah, basically that is going to come together, and I have to say, on top of all of that, just a lot of things to do with the user experience will be fixed in the next version, which we've already by and large solved with our actual sort of timeline software. They just really need reintegrating back into quite an old code base now. Well, rather, when I say reintegrated, we're writing everything from scratch, which is why certain bits we don't really even need to reuse. But yeah, quite a lot more to it. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of different bits and bobs, but I really feel like this is our chance to sort of really reset a much more Wikidata-centric path going forward, and which really opens the door to it being a fully multilingual site, which is the other really major thing that version 2 simply has to do. It's we've already had so many people around the world saying, oh, please, could we use this in Spanish or in French or in German, Arabic, Hebrew? We've had requests for all these different languages, and the fact is Wikidata means we can do that, without really any work for ourselves. It's just a matter of us switching to Wikidata rather than Wikipedia as our main source of data, really.
So lots to look forward to, basically.
Lots and lots, yeah.